You are listening to Starter Girls Podcast with Jennifer Loading. Whether you are starting a project, starting a business, starting a brand, or starting a movement, we are here to talk about it. And I do have to say, we are missing one of our members today, Miss Amy Lafitte, and so we want to give it a shout out to her, but the show must go on today, as we say, right? And so I'm super excited to introduce my good friend Ben here. And Ben and I met actually at a networking event or networking meeting that we were a part of. I want to say about a year and a half ago. Am I correct?
Year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
Like that.
Has it been that long already? Wow.
Time flies.
Wow. It does. It does. Yeah. And so one of the great things about Ben, I've been completely impressed with him from day one. For one, he's extremely young, which is so incredible. But when you hear his story, you're going to know why this is so powerful, because when I met him, I was blown away by his story and all that he has done in such a short amount of time. And so I think you guys are really going to love hearing from him and learning a little bit about what he's been doing and where he's going forward. So a little bit about Ben real quick. He's a licensed financial advisor and agency owner with Goosehead Insurance, one of the largest and fastest growing independent insurance brokerages in the United States. After about 4.5 years of experience in finance in Goosehead and about 4 years as a financial advisor, Ben recently returned back to Goosehead to take his talents through the franchise channel. His mission is to create the largest and most profitable franchise agency under the Goosehead brand and to help Goosehead become the largest personal lines insurance distributor in the United States. So welcome, Ben. I'm super excited to have you on here.
Thank you for having me. It's cool. It's a first for me. So, excited, a little bit nervous, but looking forward to it.
Hey, it's okay. We got a lot of little changes going on today, right? And sometimes you just got to roll with it. Isn't that right? All right. So we always like to start off with a few rapid fire questions. And the fun thing about this is it just gives our audience the ability to get to know you, like out of the business scene. And so are you a morning or a night person?
Definitely a night person. I start my mornings early. I mean, right now I get up at about 6 a.m, but it is a battle every single morning.
Is it?
In the back of my head, I'm a big Jocko Willink fan, and I keep playing his podcast in the morning and just some of the recordings. And he's got one that talks about getting up and how it's winning the first battle of the day. But it is seriously a battle every single morning. I'm not a morning person. I can stay up, all night if I needed to.
Okay. Well, and you work a lot. So I know I've talked to you several times and you've been up early and then you've been working pretty late in the evening. Yes. So I think you adjust when you have to. But a lot of people are like that. And I will tell you, I used to be that way. I used to be a night owl and then something happened. But, since we've had this whole thing with the whole coronavirus going on, I have been all off schedule and it's just messed my days up.
It's messed up everything.
It is. But, you got to keep a little bit of your sanity. So you got to keep a little routine going there, right?
Definitely.
All right. So are you a cat or dog person?
Oh, 100% dogs.
100%
I'm really allergic to cats.
Are you?
So, yeah, not a big cat guy. I love dogs.
Okay. Well, you don't come to my house then. We got lots of them. We got dogs and cats. We got everything, right? If you follow me on anything, I have a menagerie, right?
That's true.
All right. And what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? I'm kind of childish. I mean, it's straight like a bacon cheeseburger or just a good pizza.
Bacon cheeseburger sounds good. Yeah. That's actually low carb. You could pull that off. It'd be good. Just leave the bun, have the bacon and cheese. It's all good in the burger, the meat, right?
Perfect.
All right. So what I want you to do is I gave our listeners a little bit of background on you. I want you to tell us a little bit about you, what makes you unique and what you're doing. So just give us a little bit of background, your history, and how you got into this whole Goosehead.
Yeah. So with Goosehead, I've been around it most of my life. My aunt actually came up with the idea to start this company to kind of fix the insurance business. And we've kind of built a company around the client and really have tried to rethink how the insurance industry is and fix it. So we were founded back in 2003, started out very small. We had a couple offices. It was like, my aunt, my uncle, my dad, and we had, 8 to 10 cubicles, a tiny little office. And we've just grown since then. But I started working there when I was about 16 years old in finance back in 2011. And I really kind of got a taste for the business. I actually, when I was growing up as a kid, my dream job was to be a dentist and then eventually specialize in orthodontics. And as I started working at Goosehead and realized I liked working in business, I liked the finance, I liked the numbers of it, I just found out that I absolutely love business. I wanted to be a businessman. And so spent, like I said, 4 to 4.5 years working at Goosehead in finance, really enjoyed the experience, worked there in high school and college. When I graduated, I went into the financial planning industry. So I've been a licensed financial advisor, kind of working on that. Still own part of a practice and have a couple partners that I'm still working with. that really kind of manage that. And then I'm back at Goosehead with my own agency that I'm really trying to grow right now. So just looking forward to it. It feels great to be back.
It's awesome. It's an incredible story too. I think the thing that really it gets me with all of this is that you are so young and you're like, we talked about being trailblazers, about, you just go after things. And
Right.
one of the things I said to somebody the other day, and I think I even said this on one of the shows that's actually going to air out tomorrow, that, with people that are trailblazers, yes, sometimes they get burned out because they just go hard, but they look at things and they take challenges and say, okay, I'm going after this goal, and I assume that there's going to be difficulty, there's going to be challenge, there's going to be things that I have to overcome. When I cross that bridge, I'll deal with it.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I've always loved about Ben, is that you do that. You look at something and you go, okay, I know that this is going to there's going to be risk involved with this, but I'm going to do it anyways. And that's what I think is
Absolutely.
important in anything that you do. That's why we do this show, right?
Exactly.
That's why I love the grit question. So was there, and I know you talked a little bit about working at the agency when you were younger, but was
Yeah.
there, like, I've heard the story you told me before about the candy or whatever when you were a kid. Didn't you tell me something about you were like the kid that would sell the
Oh,
candy?
Yeah,
So I'm like, was there like this childhood thing? Like, did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like,
honestly, I really liked kind of being a little, hustler when I was young. I did at the time want to eventually, my long-term goal was to be that dentist and eventually an orthodontist. But when I was a little kid, I was always thinking of extra ways to make money. I would go, like, as soon as I got my driver's license when I turned 16, I would go look on Craigslist and all the classified ads and find things that I saw were undervalued. I'd go drive and pick them up, and then I'd flip them and sell them to somebody else. So I'd buy like an Xbox and make $100, or go
Oh
pick
my
up a
goodness.
TV and make $100.
wow. Wow.
And there was a period of time at school where I would go get when I was younger the large value packs from like Costco of bulk candy.
I didn't make that story up, did I?
No. And I remember talking about one of the
Yes,
Master Networks
we
meetings.
did.
I'd buy one of the bulk things of candy, and I'd go and resell them to kids at school and make a little bit extra money doing that. Yeah, I've just kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset since I was young, and I've kind of rolled with it.
That's awesome. Well, and when you're telling me this, what I'm laughing about that's so funny is because I think my son gets on those lists and sends me pictures of cars that he wants me to buy.
Yep.
He's not going to look to see if he can get them himself. He's sending me pictures of cars and he wants me to go through and be like, hey, you going to get me this? And I've talked about that. I don't remember, was it on the last show? I think it was a show that aired this week. I was talking about how he starts high and works down on me. Like he
Yep.
gets up here, way up here, and then he ends up getting a pretty decent, whatever it is, computer or whatever we're talking about, right in the
It's
middle. 'cause
negotiating
he's-
101, right?
Yeah, exactly. He needs to talk to you.
Perfect.
And he was
Happy to
selling.
help.
He was selling these suckers last week. He was like on his third bag of these suckers that he had to sell for like his ASL class. I didn't even know he
awesome.
was doing this. Like he's like, "You want a sucker?" And I'm like, "How much are they?" He's like, "They're $1." I'm like, "Well, how have you done on these?" And he's like, "I'm on my third bag." And I'm like, "Okay."
Hustler. I love
He's
it.
a hustler, exactly. He knows where he
Perfect.
gets that from, right? All right. So when you are going after a project, so like even like taking on doing this franchise, I mean, we talked about this before you actually got the franchise. We had talked
Yep,
about it.
we did.
So when you're going after a goal or moving into something like this, what does that process look like? The mindset, like what are you thinking? What's going, how are you working towards that?
So I think for me, part of it goes back to actually earlier what you said about being a trailblazer. I took kind of one of the personality tests that tells you answer certain questions, and it tells you kind of what your personality is, what type of jobs you'd be suitable for. And as a trailblazer, it's kind of, you get a little bit of information and you can see the long-term picture and see the opportunity. And you just know that once you get started, you'll be able to kind of figure it out along the way. That's kind of how I get started. I come up on the opportunity. I like to kind of evaluate the situation, see, what's the upside, what's the downside? Is it feasible to do right now? Is it something I need to push off in the future? But when I really see there's good opportunity there, I jump right into it. Now I still like to do my homework and make sure it's a smart, educated decision. But part of it is really just kind of figuring things out along the way. Doing kind of your regulation checks along the way. Every weekend I spend a little bit of time making sure my next week is prepped and what do I need to do. And it's kind of having those small little checkpoints along the way. But I really I see the opportunity and I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to make it work.
It's awesome. And I will say you are focused. That is one of
Very
your strengths.
focused.
You ought the podcast that's going to air tomorrow with Jeff Yates. He does iWork Zone, and he talks about these testing, and it's a little bit different than the testing that you and I know about, like the Myers-Briggs and all of those.
Right.
That test actually goes in and it will evaluate not just your strengths, like things that you're task oriented, competitive, all of that,
Right.
but it actually goes in and it can tell you what your basically born talents are. So like
Very
when they
cool.
did mine, if you listen to it, you'll hear them talk about this. But when they did mine, of course, it came back that I was social, enterprising, and artistic. No surprise, right? So it's really neat because, the value of that is if you're basically in those fields and you're sitting behind a desk. And in my case, like I mentioned, I studied accounting, and he's
Right.
like, you don't need to be doing accounting.
Different kind of
That's
personality.
not your personality, right? Like I can do
Absolutely.
it, I just don't enjoy it. And so that's what the really neat, important thing is about that test is that it can actually, kind of get you in
That
that
helps
area.
kind of guide you in the right
Exactly.
direction.
Yeah, and so like even for you, when you get ready to start hiring, that might be a really good
Oh,
resource, because then you can use it to get the right people in, but also when your people are in, train to make sure they're doing what they're gifted at doing.
Right.
Because a lot
Find
of
the strengths and help
Yeah.
offload the weaknesses
Right.
other spots. Definitely.
Exactly. Because a lot of companies, they get people in and they'll put them in somewhere and they're not really fitted for that position. And then they keep them there and they're wondering why they're not thriving within the organization, like you gotta
Absolutely.
find their strengths. So that's awesome. So very cool. All right. So what would you say, because this is my favorite question. I always have to ask this question. It's the great
All right.
question. What would you say is the hardest thing that you've ever had to go through?
I know we've talked a little bit. My family's been through a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We just passed the 4th anniversary that we lost my dad. Sorry.
That's all right.
Back in 2016, and he passed away very unexpectedly. He had some health issues, but it was more of a chronic chronic illness. He had pain, fatigue, and it was really hard on his body. And he passed away unexpectedly. And I was 21. I was just about to graduate from college. And I was actually going to stay in Utah. I went to school for a couple of years. And when he passed away, he was 48 at the time. My mother was 45, and I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So I'm thinking, okay, kind of looking at things, and it was just kind of a natural response. I need to go home and help take care of the family. And as we've kind of gone through that over the last couple of years, it's been very challenging. You're dealing with grief and still having to move forward. And for me, I was just about to start my actual adult life post, being a student, and having to help my siblings kind of work through things on their own and really kind of take a different leadership role, I think, in the family, and having to be involved in things that, to be honest, I didn't think I'd be involved in for a very long time. It's been very challenging, but we've had our ups and our downs where we've been very strong, but I would definitely say it's been one of the most challenging things, if not the most challenging thing I've ever had to deal with.
Absolutely. And I didn't know if you were going to share that or not. And
Yeah.
you did tell me this story. And this is why I think you're so remarkable, because I look at that story and, I always talk about the big thing is grit and tenacity and being able to overcome obstacles, because life is full of them and you never know. It's unfortunate that you had experienced that at a young age. You did. A lot of people don't till later, but I think it's when you have those moments where you're brought to your knees and you're humbled that you build character. And I think that a lot of that, I'm not saying, yay, that happened. I think it taught you some amazing life skills and it made you who you are today. And I think that's why I think you're so remarkable at such a young age. I mean, I tell people about you all the time and your story. And even when we talked about why you went in to do what you did as a career, I mean, we talked about the passion driven behind that, and like I said, I didn't know if you were going to share all that and I didn't want to divulge that. I wanted you to be free to share that. But I think that's so important as to why you're doing what you do every single day, because you genuinely care about people and you don't want to see other people struggle.
Right.
And so I love that about you, Ben.
I
Awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You should write a book someday.
Hey.
Never
Maybe I
know,
will.
right? You never know. All right. So tell me, what do you love most about what you get to do?
So I'm a big relationship guy. I know right now, now that I'm back with Goosehead, starting this agency, I'm really focusing a lot on creating just very strong referral partner relationships. I had some, obviously with the financial planning space, and a lot of people know my background with Goosehead. But I really like being able to work on building those relationships. I know people stereotypically kind of think of the insurance industry. It's very boring. People don't like thinking about it. But we're really trying to kind of shape that a little bit differently, where we want to be educational, make it a better experience. I mean, when we built Goosehead and started the company back in 2003, if you talk to my uncle, for example, our entire process is built around the client and really elevating that client experience. And so I really like being able to kind of break what people think is the norm for the industry and try to make it a more fun, sexy, so to speak, type of thing that you get to deal with instead of the boring, oh, you know what, my insurance is coming up for renewal. Who knows what my price is going to be? Let's just try to make it a better experience. I really like being able to do that and help people. And I do like actually in the insurance side having more of a financial background because I can have some of the other conversations that a lot of insurance agents can't have that I think just adds a little bit of extra value to those clients. But I really take pride in helping change that mindset, really being educational and trying to let my clients know that I genuinely care for their well-being.
I love that.
It's not just a business. I want to help them as a person. I care about them and want to make sure they're in the best spot.
Right. I love that about you. No, and it is because businesses, it needs to be relational, not transactional. We talked about that. I remember when we were in Master Networks and you came up to me that first time, and I can't remember what I had trained on that day because I was doing those little, those little nuggets of training. And I remember you came up to me and I don't remember what you said to me, but it was something that I had trained on. I remember thinking that, and then we met shortly after that. And I was like, this kid's a good kid because you're very relational. You're very much about building those connections. And it's not just, let's sit down and let's look at this. And I think that's huge and important because nobody wants to be sold to, right?
No.
Exactly. Nobody ever wants to be sold to. They like to purchase, but they don't want to be sold to.
Right.
And that makes the difference when you're in the business industry, especially with what you're doing. You've got to get people to buy into you before they're going to buy into your product. Definitely. This leads me to another question. What is unique about Goosehead? I want you to share this because I think this is what sets this company apart from a lot of these insurance companies that are out there.
Yeah, so Goosehead, we're a little bit different. And I think, again, it goes back to just when we built our model, we really put our client at the center of the model. You think about insurance, across the board. Usually it's a boring experience. People are not always given the best information. And generally they receive really low customer service, satisfaction scores. And that's really what we're trying to break. So we put a huge emphasis on, making sure that we're giving our clients the value and making sure they can get the best coverage for the best price. Because we're an independent broker, we get to shop around with the best companies in the marketplace and find what is tailor-made to fit the best, situation for the client, which is, it makes sense for them from a value perspective. We get to be very educational in how we kind of present the information. Whether they decide to take, our full recommendation or not, that's totally up to the client, and we're more than happy to help them. But we just want to make sure they understand and can make smart and educated decisions. And then the other thing that's different is, we put that huge emphasis on our customer service. We've got, when you look at somebody in the insurance industry, you normally have people that own like their State Farm agency, and they're responsible for selling all the business, servicing all the business, helping people file claims. They really have to be a jack of all trades, taking care of everything. And the thing that's different with Goosehead is we've really separated that and kind of strategically divided those responsibilities to where we've got our sales agents or our agency owners who are really good at educating and helping clients get set up, for the best situation and being able to help in that relationship going forward. But then we have a separate service team that's responsible for taking care of anything on the back end, whether there's, a claim that needs to be processed or any sort of an issue kind of in the interim. And, they're trained, and their whole job is to make sure that we're ironing out any sort of those errors. And so when you look at, we use a metric that we call Net Promoter Score. It's a measure, it was actually created by Bain & Company, the global consulting firm, that measures the customer satisfaction levels of a company. And your average insurance company is between about a 30 to a 40 for Net Promoter Score. With Goosehead for 2019, our Net Promoter Score is about an 89, which is, it far exceeds, industry average. In fact, almost doubles it. And we actually have the highest NPS score right now of any company in the world. So we really try to make sure that the client is at the center of our focus, and it's been working well for us.
Well, and the other thing you told me too was about the forecasting that you guys do with the policies. When you look at when like upcoming renewals are coming around, you guys have the ability to go in and look and shop around before, these policies just absolutely, they just go into automatic renewal, which is what happens when you're with agencies. They go into automatic renewal.
Definitely.
And a lot of times the agents don't really call you. They just let the policies keep automatically renewing, and you have to make that phone call and say, hey, my policy keeps going up. Can we reevaluate this? Look at this. And so I love that you guys kind of take that on the other end and go, let me shop and work for this client
Right.
so that I can help them try to save some money or see if we can offer them something better than what they're
Right.
doing.
Yeah, we
So I
like
that.
we like to monitor, and if there's anything that seems like an abnormal sort of premium increase,
Yeah.
then we can reach out to our clients, say, hey, this is the situation. Hopefully, kind of catch on the front end instead of them calling us saying, hey, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Just, hey, this is kind of what we're expecting based on whatever metrics happened in that zip
Right.
code,
Right.
and then we can really try to help them make sure that they're still in the best situation. But the other thing that I like, going back to me enjoying the relationship, is obviously if someone has a great experience when they're getting everything set up for the first time, that's optimal. That's what we want. But where you can really reinforce that relationship is the second time, when they see that you weren't just there to get them set up and to say bye. It's, we still want to make sure that you're taken care of in the future, and we're going to make sure that we proactively do that.
I love that. It's awesome. All right. So, and you played some football. We know this, right? Because we talked about this before. Do you want to share a little bit about that really quick?
Yeah. So I played football as a football player, wrestler for most of my life. Had the ability to go out to BYU, be a part of their football team, and got through school on a scholarship. And yeah, that was nice. I spent most of my time as a student assistant.
That's awesome.
I've had, unfortunately, my fair share of injury troubles.
Right.
I think since my freshman year of college, I've had probably 6 or 7 different operations, and kind of paid the price for that. But I love the sport, and I'd do it all again to get back out on the field.
Well, and I brought that up because, again, you earned a scholarship to go play football. It takes all of this stuff that you've done in your life. These are all successes that you've had, and they have all taken a certain amount of tenacity and grit to get through them. You have to have this in order. And the thing is, like I always talk about athletes and entrepreneurs, a lot of athletes become entrepreneurs because, like I said, even though they're different, they both require mindset, right? You have to have that in order to do either one. And so that's why I brought that up. And so you just have an incredible story. And yes, you have had quite a few surgeries. You've had a lot of things. You've had a lot of things. And then what cracks me up is you just get right back up and you just go again. Going. You just keep going. It's like, and I'm like, there's Ben again. He's like, got something there. And you're just going again. I love it. I love it. So who would you say has been, and you can have more than one, your biggest influencer? So
I know, the biggest influencer, as I kind of look back on my life, I would say my dad. I know it's probably somewhat of a stereotypical answer. Especially, I mean, with him being here, obviously he was a great example. I looked up to my dad. When I was growing up, I was a really small kid, and my dad was a really big guy. He was, the guy's very tall, broad-chested, very strong. I always viewed him through my eyes as like Superman, like just invincible, untouchable.
That's awesome.
Very smart. So I was able to learn a lot from him, obviously, growing up when he was here. And I still feel like, I feel closely connected to him, even though he's not here anymore. As I'm making decisions in life, we actually, was interesting, and I think I might have told you. If I didn't, I'll tell you now. We had a big annual meeting for Goosehead at the beginning of February, and I was able to go back, and it had been a couple of years since I'd been to one of our annual meetings, and we were, that's when you get everybody, educating people, what's new, what's changing, and then also just to get everybody pumped up so that they're, ready to go have a great year. And this is the first time that I've been to an annual meeting since owning my agency and being back. And, being there, I just felt very close to my dad, as they're playing the music and the videos. It was really cool. And it was interesting. I had an empty seat next to me, and it felt like I could almost feel as if my dad were, right there. And so it's been really cool, feeling close to him. But, I would definitely say that he's still the person that
biggest influencer. I love that.
Look to the most.
You're giving me chills.
Yeah.
Listening to that. Wow. We had that empty seat right there. Isn't that crazy? That's so crazy. Awesome that you made that decision to come back to your roots, because that's your family's business. I mean, that's what you grew up knowing, and you get to have that opportunity, and this wasn't, and here's what I think is so remarkable about you. You didn't just come in and be like, this is my family's business. You owe me this. Give me the franchise. No, you worked to get that. You made that happen yourself. And that's what I think is so incredible about your story, is that you've taken this tragic story and flipped this around and used it, like I said, to fuel your passion and to help other people, and then to be able to come back to your roots and do what you've known pretty much your whole life,
Definitely.
So I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. All right. So what do you like to do for fun, Ben?
So for me, when I'm not in recovery mode, as I have been, I know we met.
Yes.
Like we said, year and a half, 2 years ago. I've had 3 surgeries since then on my hand and my wrist.
Oh my goodness, you've had a lot.
Yeah. When I'm healthy, I really enjoy being outdoors. I like, hiking, camping, biking, going out on the lake on a boat. I like being very active in the gym. I still, it's been a little while, so it's been very frustrating. But I still like doing a lot of weightlifting training. That was one thing I got really passionate about when I was, still in school and trying to train, get bigger, stronger. And then I enjoy spending time with family and friends. I'm not, some just business robot. I like having, fun with family and friends too. And, you know,
Sure.
just I love it.
Absolutely. You got to be around family and friends, right?
Definitely.
That's awesome. And so we were talking about this one day about your family. So you're the oldest of 5, and so you do a lot. They go camping with you and do all these fun things with you.
My brothers will now. We did a decent amount growing up. We're originally from Alberta in Canada, and so every time we go back up, that's like right in the Canadian Rockies.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. So every time we go back up there, we do a lot of camping.
That's awesome.
We didn't do quite as much. I did a decent amount in the scouting program when I was growing up, but we didn't do a whole lot of camping growing up because camping in Texas is just so much different.
It is. I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh,
You don't have the cool nights. You don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have the cool nights.
No. It's a lot different, but
Yeah.
they do enjoy it. They're still outdoors people.
That's awesome. Okay, so you were in the Scouts. I think I missed. How far did you go in that?
Got my Eagle Scout.
I knew.
did.
That's why I had asked that question. I knew. I'm like, you did not finish that. I know you did.
I know my Eagle
Right?
Scout. For my Eagle Scout
Maybe you
project.
told me that. I don't know. I missed that part somehow.
Yeah. I restored a historical cemetery out in Louisville, and again, I'm a big relationship guy. I still go by and check on the guy that owns the cemetery, and there's a little like crematory that's on the premises, and still go check on him. Still have a good relationship, but
I could.
got
I
my Eagle
totally.
Scout as a kid.
I'm not surprised. I'm not, but I don't know how I missed that part of the conversation. We didn't get to that
Yeah.
one, so I'm glad you shared that. That's awesome. So my last fun question for you: If
Okay.
you could be any superhero or character, who would you pick?
So, it sounds kind of cliche, but honestly, I would probably just be Superman.
That's all right.
And not so much for the fly. I think fly would be cool, but for me, it's the super strength.
Super strength. I
It's
think that's
awesome.
good.
He's bulletproof, strong.
Yeah.
It's the way.
I grew up I'm a 70s kid, so I remember all the Superman movies.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, yeah, Superman. I think I picked Captain Marvel would be mine,
Okay.
but I also like Tinkerbell. And we said that on one of my
There
other
you go.
podcasts, and my friend Casey, we did that iWorks test, and we were like Twinkies, like we're so like matched up. And she's like, Tinkerbell.
Right.
I'm like, no, think about Tinkerbell. She has a wand. Okay. And she's a little feisty. So you make her mad.
She can do whatever she wants with it.
Exactly. And I'm like, could you imagine what I could do with the wand? Like, could you imagine? Like, I could make a lot of stuff happen. I could get a lot of people quiet too.
I'm curious why Captain Marvel?
Just because I think of her just as badass. I just think of her like when I've seen I haven't seen a whole lot of those shows. I mean, my kids took me to see a couple of them, but I just always think of her as kind of the, like she's always coming out saving them all.
Yeah.
To
To be honest, I've only seen parts of the new movie, so
Yeah.
you can't,
I don't know.
can't judge me on that one. But
Yeah. Well, I can't say Iron Man, I am Iron. I'm not going to be
Iron Woman.
Yeah,
Same
Iron
difference,
Woman.
right?
No, this is good. I've had fun. This is good, Ben. Okay, so is there anything that you want our listeners real quick to know about you or Goose? Anything else you want to tell us?
I think obviously we're still growing. We're more than happy to help everybody. I know, especially with all this coronavirus stuff going on, the markets have been kind of crazy. You've seen mortgage interest rates that have gone up and down. When you look at the stock market, it's been really crazy. If people are in a situation where they're trying to help save some money, looking at their insurance, that's something we might be able to help at. But other than that, just making sure everybody's safe, healthy, doing the right things, taking care of their families. I mean, that's the most important thing.
I agree with you, and thank you for
we're here to
sharing.
help on the back end, but that's number one.
That's awesome. All right, so if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you, Ben, what's the best way for them to reach you? Email, website? What's the best direction to go?
Yeah, so the best way to probably get a hold of me would probably be my email. Do you want me to give my email?
Yeah, just give it out. And
Okay.
and when we air this, I can also put it in there for them to
Okay.
contact you too.
Cool. So my email, it's ben.jones@goosehead.com.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, super easy, super unique name.
I like
right?
that. Ben Jones at Goosehead. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
easy. They can get that. And I'll put it, like I said, when we air this out, I'll put it in the comments section.
Perfect.
I'll tag you, and that way you can share it, whatever you
Awesome.
need to do. Totally fine.
Be cool.
All right. So I think this has been awesome. It's been
Yeah, thanks for
fun.
having me. I
I'm
appreciate
glad
it.
that you were able to get on here. And we kind of moved him up a little early so we could get him in here. And we've been
Awesome.
talking about this for a while, but wanted to wait till you got situated with your franchise and got all I want to say this again, ducks in a row. Because I always said I need to say squirrels, maybe, right? Because squirrels are like all over,
Maybe.
but Goosehead, the ducks, I was like,
True.
yeah. All
I
right.
don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. All right. Well, we want to tell our listeners, if you love our podcast, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook, because of course we cannot do this without you. And we do want to say thank you to Ben for being our awesome guest today and
Thank you
getting
for
out
having
here. And with that, I think we need to wrap up with our mantra and we will get us out of here, right? All right. So it's a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.